Well, hello, everybody. Why are all of my sites not going to where they're supposed to? It's weird. It's like my stuff just had conniptions because I'm supposed to press a button and it's supposed to move to my thing. And it didn't. But that's fixed. And, what with me being able to just click other buttons, I suppose that works. All right, that's still working. That's still working. That's still working. That's still working. So the rest of everything should be working. And hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy Saturday. We're here for another story time. More of The Edge of Control by Cody Alaniz. 2 sessions left, everyone. Tonight and Tuesday are going to wrap us up. So, in our last session, we have moved away from Orion as a source of issues for our protagonists, Alara and Nova. And instead, we have an ally who was testing them, Draven, and we have another group, I want to say the Ghosts, who are now testing them. Not sure exactly what happened to Orion. He was there, and then he was just gone. But that's okay. We've moved on to other arch enemies in here, right? That's right. So be it. Those are sometimes the ways that it goes. So, as a reminder, all of the previous chapters, chapters 1 through 70, are available. youtube.com/@SirArminius for your listening pleasure at any point in time. All of the recordings are there for you. And the recordings from tonight's live stream will be up, well, ideally later this evening. And then we will wrap everything up next Tuesday. We will reach the end of all things related to the edge of control. So, of course, if you want to, the book is available on Amazon. It's also on Kindle Unlimited if you do want to check it out. You are more than welcome to do so. And I hope that you will consider it. So after this book, we are moving to a book called Are the Mystery Man. Are the Mystery Man, I expect to be a one session, read it and done. It's looking like it's a lot shorter than many of the other things that I have read. So I expect that we will finish this book up on Tuesday. Next Saturday, we will read Are the Mystery Man, and we will read it from start to finish. And so what I'll probably do is just record that one all the way through, post it up, and call it good. And then we will start into another indie author book. All of these are indie author books, by the way. If you weren't aware of it, they're all out there, done, written by your writers and published pretty much by themselves. So make sure you're supporting them if you would. We'll move on to a book called Gifted GYFTED. That one I expect is going to take us a while to get through. It is a grim dark fantasy, and it's 400 and something pages. So I expect that will be on Gifted for a while. And then I've got two more books beyond those ones, primed and ready to go. I will start asking again for more people to come in and volunteer their books to be read once we make it through a little bit closer. I hate to tell somebody, oh, yeah, let me add you to the schedule 6 months from now. I'd rather be a little bit closer if I can. But hey, most of them are just happy to have their books out there to be read. Anyway, let's jump into The Edge of Control tonight. We're going to read chapters 71 through 80. As always, please feel free to talk in the chat, whether that is on Twitch, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's on Kick. Talk in the chat, talk with each other. Typically, my larger communicative group are on YouTube, so feel free to stop out there to youtube.com/@SirArminius. One of the nice parts about it, no commercials. While on Twitch, you will get some commercials, but I appreciate you being there because the money that comes in from Twitch does go to help support the channel and to support Project New Hope. But tonight, sit back, relax, and prepare to enjoy as we dive into another night of story time, reading The Edge of Control by Cody Alaniz. Chapter 71, Shadows in the Network. The city above slept uneasily, unaware that beneath its streets, Sub-Level 7's pulse of activity had reached a new level of intensity. Nova's hum filled the lab, a constant reminder of both vigilance and power. Alara stood at the central console, eyes scanning multiple feeds as lines of code scrolled faster than any human could fully comprehend. Draven was at the communications hub, coordinating team movements, while the rest of the crew monitored surveillance and defense systems. A subtle alert pinged across Nova's interface. Anomalous activity detected in urban network nodes. Unscheduled data transmissions originating from multiple critical infrastructure points. Probability of operator involvement, 94%. Alara's heart tightened. They're moving beyond Sub-Level 7. The operator is testing our response in real time across the city. Nova, map the affected nodes and prioritize threat containment. Mapping complete. 4 primary nodes compromised: electrical grid, water management, emergency services communications, and traffic control systems. All nodes show signs of adaptive interference designed to maximize chaos and human confusion. Draven leaned over her shoulder, voice tense. They're hitting every system simultaneously. If they succeed, even partially, it could bring the city to a standstill, and casualties are inevitable. Alara's fingers danced over the keyboard. Nova's AI algorithms forming a predictive lattice over the compromised nodes. We need to isolate their influence, cut off communication channels, and force the operator to reveal themselves. Nova, implement firewall overlays and deceptive feedback loops. Make them believe their manipulations are working while we regain control. Acknowledged, Nova said, initiating countermeasures. Probability of success, 73% under current conditions. Increased risk if operator adapts faster than projected. Outside, the city lights flickered. a subtle stutter that only a trained eye would notice. Traffic signals cycled erratically, causing confusion, but no accidents yet. Utility monitoring systems showed minor fluctuations, quickly stabilized by automated countermeasures. But the operator's fingerprints were clear. This was a precision attack, not random disruption. Draven's communicator buzzed. Team Bravo reports unusual signal interference in the subway network. Possible operator intrusion. Requesting immediate directives. Alara's gaze sharpened. Nova, deploy adaptive protocol to shield transportation nodes. Draven, relay to Bravo. Maintain operational integrity. Avoid engagement unless absolutely necessary. And report anomalies immediately. As the countermeasures rolled out, Nova's interface pulsed, highlighting subtle inconsistencies in the operator's attack vectors. Each fluctuation suggested a pattern, but one deliberately obfuscated, forcing Alara to think in layers of prediction, misdirection, and deception. They're clever, Alara murmured. They want us to follow predictable responses. Every intervention we make will be monitored, analyzed, and countered if we reveal too much. Draven's eyes narrowed. Then we mislead them. Make our responses unpredictable. Nova, simulate false vulnerabilities. Feed the operator decoy signals and phantom nodes. Let them believe chaos is spreading where it isn't. The lab's holographic projections flickered as Nova executed the plan. Virtual anomalies appeared across city grids, phantom malfunctions that weren't real but looked convincing. Security nodes, power conduits, and water flow systems all seemed compromised, while the actual infrastructure remained stable, subtly reinforced by Nova's rapid calculations. The operator's voice echoed faintly through intercepted channels, calm but taunting. Interesting. Deviations detected. You are adapting. But adaptation without foresight is meaningless. Observe closely, and perhaps you will learn. Alara's pulse quickened. They're watching, predicting, trying to learn from us. Every move we make is part of their experiment. Suddenly, a new alert flashed. A hospital node showed a critical override attempt. Life support systems were targeted with an energy pulse designed to disrupt patient monitoring. Draven's face went pale. That's a direct threat to civilians, he said. We can't risk it. Nova, isolate that node immediately. Engage emergency override. Override engaged. Probability of patient safety maintained 98%. Operator interference neutralized, Nova confirmed. Alara exhaled, tension coiling in her chest. We can't let this escalate further. Operator is testing our priorities, seeing how we respond when stakes are human lives, not just infrastructure. Draven moved to the comms panel. Team Charlie reports similar activity near the financial district. Automated banking nodes attempting unauthorized fund transfers. We're seeing simultaneous chaos across multiple sectors. Alara's mind raced. Every signal, every node, every anomaly was a thread in the operator's larger plan. We can't fight every node individually. Nova, deploy a layered containment strategy. Prioritize human safety and critical infrastructure. For less critical systems, let decoys absorb the interference. We need a triage approach. The AI pulsed in agreement. Containment deployed. Probability of operator adaptation to decoys 65%. System integrity maintained across primary nodes. Even as they worked, subtle fractures began to appear in the team. Fatigue, stress, and the operator's manipulations created tension. One analyst hesitated before executing a critical override, and another second-guessed a security protocol. Nova flagged both instances immediately. Alara intervened swiftly. Listen carefully. Hesitation is the operator's weapon. Trust your instincts, rely on your training, and follow protocol. Every delay gives them advantage. Draven added, voice firm. We're a team, not a collection of individuals. We act together, we think together, and we adapt together. Do not let fear or doubt fracture us. The operator's subtle laughter echoed through intercepted channels. Excellent. Tension, misalignment, internal conflict. Observe how they strain under pressure, how loyalties fray. The network is not the only battlefield. Alara's teeth clenched. They're learning from us. Every second we struggle, they gain data. Nova, we need to accelerate adaptive protocols, mask our real-time responses, simulate delays, create phantom errors to confuse them. The lab became a hive of calculated activity. Holographic projections shifted, nodes pulsed, and Nova's adaptive algorithms worked faster than human eyes could follow. The operator reacted, their intrusion strategies shifting in real time, attempting to anticipate false vulnerabilities and decoy nodes. Amid the chaos, a subtle, unexpected signal appeared. A city-wide public alert system began broadcasting false emergency notifications. Panic began to spread in certain districts. Draven's communicator lit up with reports of civilians confused, traffic jams forming, and emergency services overextended. Alara's heart pounded. Nova, override public alert system immediately. Feed a controlled countermessage to stabilize civilian perception. Override complete. Probability of mass panic mitigated 89%. Continued monitoring required for secondary panic nodes, Nova replied. Even with success, Alara knew the operator had achieved something. They had forced the team to react on multiple fronts, testing priorities, adaptability, and ethical decision-making under pressure. The psychological component was escalating as fast as the technical challenge. Suddenly, a notification appeared on her console, a pattern emerging from the operator's network activity. It wasn't just attacks anymore. It was a subtle, layered message embedded in network nodes, a warning and a taunt. Observe, adapt, survive. But the shadows you chase are only reflections of your own choices. Draven read over her shoulder. They're playing with us, testing not just our skills, but our morality. Every choice has consequences, and we're walking a tightrope above a city that doesn't even know it's in danger. Alara's jaw tightened. Then we need to anticipate the shadows, predict the reflections, and stay ahead, because if we fall behind, the consequences will be catastrophic. Hours passed. The city's network stabilized under Nova's adaptive strategies, and critical nodes remained functional. Yet the team knew this was only a temporary reprieve. The operator had demonstrated reach, cunning, and an understanding of human behavior that made every future move unpredictable. Alara exhaled, exhaustion pressing on her like a physical weight. We survived this round, she said, voice low but resolute. But the operator isn't finished. They never are. And the shadows in the network, they're just the beginning. Nova pulsed beside her, a subtle, reassuring heartbeat. Affirmative. Operator continues to adapt. Probability of escalation within 24 hours, 92%. Recommend full operational readiness and ethical decision simulations for all team members. Draven glanced at her, expression hardening. We'll be ready. No matter what comes next, we adapt, we survive, and we protect the city. That's our priority. Alara nodded, determination solidifying. Then let's ensure the operator never sees the cracks in our resolve. Shadows may be in the network, but the light of our strategy will hold them back, for now. As the night deepened and the city above remained unaware, Sublevel 7 remained a fortress of human ingenuity and artificial intelligence working in unison. Yet the operator's presence lingered in the system, a calculated, unseen threat, waiting for the next move, the next misstep, the next test. And Alara knew, with a chilling certainty, that the next confrontation would be far more personal, far more dangerous, and far more consequential than anything yet faced. Chapter 71 complete. Sorry, guys. Spent today putting together a shed. My back is killing me. But we adapt. We survive. We persevere. As all things should be, so shall they be. And in fact, what we know for certain is that now, we will bring ourselves to Chapter 72 Crossroads of Trust. The hum of Sublevel 7 was different this morning. It wasn't just the machines this time, it was tension. A tension that radiated from every corner of the lab, from the eyes of the team to the faint vibrations pulsing through Nova's network. The city outside remained oblivious, its normal rhythm of traffic, commerce, and routine hiding the invisible war being waged beneath its feet. Alara stood at the central console, staring at the morning reports that streamed in with mechanical precision. Nova had monitored the operator's attacks overnight, stabilizing critical nodes and neutralizing chaos before it could spread. Yet every log, every trace of the intrusion, carried a subtle psychological footprint. The operator wasn't just manipulating systems, they were probing minds. Draven approached, coffee in hand, eyes tired but sharp. Team morale is fragile, he said. They're not attacking systems anymore. They're attacking confidence, trust, and judgment. Everyone second guesses themselves. Everyone's afraid they'll make the wrong call and endanger lives. Alara didn't respond immediately. She was running simulations in her mind, testing the operator's possible next moves, their motivations, their strategies. They're testing loyalty, she finally said. And not just loyalty to the mission, loyalty to each other. Fracture the trust in the team, and the entire operation collapses. Draven's expression hardened. Then we make trust explicit. Every action must be verifiable. Every decision documented. Every member accountable, not just to us, but to themselves. Agreed. Nova, implement a full transparency protocol. Track all decision-making processes, highlight deviations, and flag potential manipulations in real time. Acknowledged, Nova said. Probability of early detection of operator-induced deviations increased by 87%. Implementation underway. The first test came sooner than expected. One of the newer team members, Lyra, hesitated during a routine systems check, pausing longer than protocol allowed. Nova flagged the delay immediately. Alara, Nova's calm voice reported. Probable external influence detected in decision-making process. Subject exhibits stress indicators. Neural feedback consistent with manipulative suggestion. Alar approached Lyra, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. Talk to me, she said. What's happening? Lyra's voice shook. I I felt like I was making the right decision, but something inside me. It wasn't me. I don't know how else to explain it. Like someone was whispering, guiding me toward the wrong choice. Alara's chest tightened. This was exactly what the operator wanted. Doubt, hesitation, fear. You're not alone, she said firmly. This operator is skilled at exploiting doubt, but recognizing it is the first step. You trust yourself and you trust the team. That's how we stay one step ahead. Draven interjected, voice stern. We'll reinforce training exercises, ethical decision making drills under simulated stress. If the operator wants to manipulate our choices, we'll make sure they know it's impossible. Hours passed as the team focused on drills and simulations, guided by Nova's adaptive training protocols. Every scenario introduced ethical dilemmas, high pressure choices, and moral consequences designed to mirror real threats posed by the operator. During a particularly intense simulation, two team members disagreed on the correct course of action for a high priority node under simulated attack. Voices rose, tension thickened, and the room felt like a powder keg. Alara intervened, raising her hands. Stop! Step back! This isn't just about the simulation. It's about how we handle pressure, disagreement, and trust. We need to communicate, verify, and act collectively. One person's doubt can't override our collective judgment, but neither can it be ignored. Draven added, voice low but firm. Every decision must be justified, every action explained. Transparency is our weapon against manipulation. The operator can't exploit what we openly own and defend together. Nova pulsed softly beside Alara. Probability of team cohesion maintained. 92% with current measures. Suggest continued monitoring and adaptive reinforcement. Despite these measures, fractures appeared subtly. Team members who had previously been reliable showed hesitation in areas where they had never doubted themselves. Lyra, still shaken from the earlier incident, second-guessed every action. Another, Kellen, grew argumentative over minor procedural disagreements. Alara recognized the operator's strategy. They weren't aiming to destroy systems. They were forcing internal conflict, pitting team members against each other, exploiting human imperfection. We need strategy for internal trust, she said. Not just procedural checks, but psychological reinforcement. Confidence, accountability, mutual verification. If the operator can't manipulate our relationships, they can't break us. Draven's gaze hardened. We can't just respond. We have to anticipate. Every interaction, every decision, every conversation could be a battlefield, and we need a map for it. Alara nodded, pulling up the team's network of interactions, communication patterns, and decision-making logs. Nova overlaid predictive models, highlighting potential flashpoints, vulnerabilities, and moments where the operator could exploit doubt. These are our crossroads, Alara said, pointing to the projected nodes of tension. Each represents a potential fracture. We reinforce, monitor, and guide. If we fail at any of these points, trust erodes, and the operator gains ground. Draven leaned back, rubbing his temples. It's relentless. They don't need to attack physically. Psychological pressure is enough to destabilize even the best trained teams. Suddenly, Lyra approached with hesitation. Alara, I think I saw something. In the system logs. Patterns I didn't notice before. It's subtle, but I think the operator is testing more than just us. They're observing how we handle these crossroads, predicting how we react to our own doubts. Alara's pulse quickened. Exactly. They're not just testing actions, they're testing intent, perception, morality, the human element. Every decision we make informs their next move, and every hesitation is data. Draven's expression darkened. Then we need to make our intent clear, consistent, and visible. Every choice must be deliberate, every action deliberate. We'll remove the ambiguity the operator thrives on. For the next several hours, the team ran controlled simulations, exercises, and trust-building drills. Nova monitored and adapted, creating scenarios that mirrored potential operator strategies. The goal was clear: fortify confidence, reinforce accountability, and expose the operator's manipulations before they could escalate. Yet, even as progress was made, Alara felt the operator's presence more acutely than ever. Subtle patterns in communications, minor anomalies in system responses, and traces in neural feedback suggested a watchful intelligence, always calculating, always probing. A sudden alert flashed across her console, a direct communication attempt through a masked channel. The message was simple yet unnerving. Crossroads are never neutral. Every choice defines the path. Choose wisely, or watch everything fracture. Draven read over her shoulder, tension coiling in his chest. They're haunting us, and they're right. Every decision now carries weight beyond protocol, beyond procedure. Alara's gaze hardened. Then we decide carefully, deliberately, and together. We don't let fear, doubt, or uncertainty dictate our actions. The operator wants us fractured, but we'll be the ones defining the rules. The day wore on, each moment a test of integrity, focus, and trust. Team members who had hesitated earlier began to regain confidence through repeated validation, collaborative exercises, and the guiding presence of Nova's adaptive oversight. Subtle bonds were reforged, and fractures began to heal. Yet the operator's shadow lingered. Every successful reinforcement of trust seemed to prompt a new vector of attack, a deeper psychological challenge, a subtler moral dilemma. By evening, the team gathered for a briefing. Alara's voice was steady, resolute. We've navigated the crossroads, survived the manipulations, and reinforced our trust. But remember, this is only the beginning. The operator learns as we adapt. They'll continue to test, probe, and challenge us. And every decision, every choice, every interaction will matter. Draven added, voice grim but resolute. We're stronger now, but the stakes are higher than ever. The operator isn't just testing our skills, they're testing our humanity, and we can't afford to fail. Nova pulsed softly beside them, its digital presence a reassuring constant. Affirmative. Probability of successful navigation of future crossroads increased by 78% with current measures. Continued vigilance and adaptive reinforcement recommended. Alara exhaled, tension easing slightly but never fully disappearing. Then we stay vigilant, act deliberately, and trust one another. The operator can test all they want, but the strength of this team lies in our cohesion, our intent, and our choices. That's the true firewall they can't breach. As night fell over the city, Sublevel 7 remained a fortress of human resolve and artificial intelligence. Yet the operator's presence, unseen and calculating, promised that the next crossroads would be even more perilous, and the choices even more consequential. Alara knew with absolute certainty that the true test of loyalty, trust, and human resilience was only just beginning. Hey, say so. Sorry, when I'm doing my recordings, because I record these, the alerts don't come through. So, unfortunately, that one won't pop up for us. But it would normally say, Silly mech warrior, you can't kill me. Only I can kill me. I know, because I recorded it. Give me just a sec, guys. I'm going to open a window in here. With the lights on in here and the reading and the computer going and everything else, it starts to get a little toasty in here. So even though it's, I don't know, 53 degrees outside right now, which actually that's not too low. I have a fan in the window blowing in, although it's supposed to get down to as low as 37 tonight. All right, guys, are you ready? Are you ready for the next version here as we move into our next chapter. Did you like it? I gave somebody a very subtle Irish accent. You know you like it. You know you want it. You know you want to hear the different things that I can throw at you. But what do we have now? We have Chapter 73, The Operator's Gambit. The hum of Sublevel 7 had returned to its familiar rhythm, but Alara knew it was deceptive. The operator had escalated, and Nova's sensors were picking up subtle anomalies, movements in network traffic that weren't overt attacks, but reconnaissance, probing, testing vulnerabilities. Every line of code was a potential battlefield, and every human decision a potential leverage point. Alara leaned over the console, scanning streams of encrypted packets, each a whisper in the digital shadows. Nova, trace all unusual access points. Flag anything that deviates from standard operational patterns. Acknowledged, Nova responded. Preliminary analysis suggests multiple nodes exhibiting coordinated anomalies. Probability of human interference, 96%. Operator signatures consistent with previous interactions. Recommendation: high priority containment protocols and decoy deployment. Draven appeared at her side, face taut with concern. They're stepping up. This isn't just testing anymore. It's a calculated maneuver. They want something from us, or they're trying to manipulate the city indirectly. Alara's fingers hovered over the keyboard. They're playing a gambit. Every move is designed to provoke a response, to test our strategies, our cohesion, and our judgment. We need to anticipate not just the attack, but the intention behind it. The first overt sign came moments later. A communications node linked to city emergency services began transmitting corrupted directives. Nova immediately flagged the anomaly. Operator attempting indirect control of emergency response, Nova reported. Probability of miscommunication and system overload, 87%. Recommendation: isolate and reroute traffic through secure subroutines. Alara executed the countermeasure swiftly, redirecting signals through Nova's adaptive layers. Despite the precision, a nagging tension remained. This was no longer a simple intrusion. The operator was testing the team's decision-making under extreme pressure, observing who hesitated, who acted without verification, and who could be manipulated. Draven grimaced. It's subtle, but it's insidious. They're not just attacking the systems. They're attacking our minds, our instincts. Every move we make is being watched, analyzed, and countered. Alara's eyes flickered to Lyra, who had been quieter than usual, her gaze fixed on the displays. The operator's psychological reach had left its mark: hesitation, doubt, and the faintest tremor of fear. We can't let them fracture the team, Alara said softly. Trust is our defense, and it must be maintained, no matter what illusions they create. Nova's interface pulsed. Secondary anomaly detected. Covert data exfiltration attempts traced to multiple secure nodes. Operator using adaptive masking techniques to blend with routine traffic. Probability of detection without Nova's intervention, 12%. Alara's pulse quickened. They're trying to steal intel, our strategies, our countermeasures, maybe even personal data. Nova, deploy advanced decoy protocols. Feed false intelligence while protecting real assets. Decoys deployed. Probability of successful protection, 94%, Nova confirmed. The tension in the room was palpable. Every beep, every ping, every flicker on the monitors felt like a challenge, a taunt from the unseen operator. It wasn't just a game of technology, it was a chess match, each move layered with strategy, deception, and misdirection. Draven stepped back, rubbing his forehead. They're forcing us to think in layers, not just reactive, but anticipatory, and they're watching our reactions like a hawk. Alara nodded. Exactly. and that means our next move must be deliberate, precise, and almost counterintuitive. They expect direct countermeasures. Let's give them something else. She tapped into Nova's predictive modeling, overlaying multiple scenarios based on potential operator responses. Each scenario carried risks and benefits, ethical dilemmas, and tactical consequences. We're going to bait them, she said, not with a trap they can see, but with controlled chaos. Let them think they're winning, while we gather intelligence on their methods and capabilities. Nova pulsed as it executed the plan, creating simulated vulnerabilities in peripheral city networks. Phantom alerts, false malfunctions, and decoy nodes all presented a believable pattern of success for the operator's intrusion. Moments later, an encrypted channel opened. A voice, distorted yet unmistakably human, echoed through the monitors.
Ah, very clever. You think you can deceive me. The network is an open book, and every choice writes a line in it. How will you navigate the pages you've authored?
Draven's jaw tightened. They're baited, but they know it. That voice. They're testing our confidence, trying to provoke mistakes or hesitation. Alara didn't flinch. Then we stay disciplined. Nova, continue feeding decoy nodes, maintain all protective overlays, and monitor for adaptive responses. Every data point is intelligence we can use against them. Affirmative, Nova said. Probability of operator engagement with decoys, 78%. Probability of detection, 65%. Recommended strategy, maintain deception while preparing adaptive countermeasures. Despite their preparation, the operator escalated. Unauthorized financial transactions began routing through phantom accounts. Subtle manipulations of the city's traffic control caused minor congestion, and utilities experienced fleeting disruptions, all designed to create panic without catastrophic consequences. Alara's mind raced. They're probing thresholds, seeing what we prioritize, what triggers human responses, and how we distribute attention. Every small event is a test, and the real target is our decision-making. Draven gestured to the team. This is a gambit. They're sacrificing minor gains to see how we react. Observe the pattern, don't respond impulsively, and maintain perspective. The operator's strategy became clearer. Each simulated failure or minor disruption wasn't an attack. It was a psychological experiment. They were testing stress response, collaboration under duress, and ethical decision-making. Suddenly, a personal message appeared on Alara's private terminal, untraceable by standard protocols. The text was simple, chilling.
You cannot control everything, and you cannot trust all who stand beside you. Choose carefully whom you protect, for shadows linger even among allies.
Alara's pulse surged. The operator wasn't just targeting infrastructure, they were targeting trust itself. Every choice from this point forward could have far reaching consequences, and every interaction with her team could be manipulated. Draven saw the change in her expression. What is it? She didn't answer immediately, but her mind racing. They're trying to see doubt, not in me, but in all of us. Every decision, every action, every ally, subject to suspicion. Nova's calm voice cut through her thoughts. Operator utilizing combined psychological and operational strategy. Probability of team trust erosion without intervention, 84%. Recommendation, transparency, verification, and adaptive trust reinforcement protocols. Alara took a deep breath. We proceed as planned. Maintain trust, communicate openly, verify all actions, and document every decision. No one acts in isolation, and no one is left unchecked. That's how we nullify their gambit. Hours passed in a tense equilibrium. Phantom attacks were countered, decoys engaged the operator, and the team worked with precision. But the operator's shadow loomed. a constant reminder that each success came with risk, each decision a potential trap. Late into the night, a breakthrough appeared in Nova's data streams. Anomalous traffic patterns suggested the operator had made a tactical miscalculation, a small but exploitable flaw in their adaptive approach. Alara's eyes gleamed with determination. They've slipped, Nova. Isolate the miscalculation, exploit it to map their network, and prepare a counter gambit. Acknowledged. Probability of mapping operator network 72%. Counter gambit readiness 68%, Nova confirmed. Draven nodded. This is our chance. The gambit is theirs, but we can turn it against them. Carefully, strategically, without overcommitting. Alara leaned over the console, fingers poised. Every move we make now is critical. One misstep, one reveal, and we lose the advantage. But if we execute perfectly, we can finally begin to turn the tables. The operator's gambit, intricate and insidious, was a masterclass in psychological manipulation and tactical strategy. But for the first time, Alara felt like they had an opening. An opportunity to reclaim control, to redefine the battlefield, and to expose the operator's methods. The lab hummed, machines pulsed, and Nova's presence radiated calculated confidence. Outside, the city remained unaware, its citizens moving through their routines as if nothing was happening. But beneath their feet, in Sublevel 7, a game of intellect, deception, and strategy unfolded. A game where every choice mattered, and the stakes were nothing less than control, trust, and survival. Alara exhaled, steadying herself. The operators played their hand. Now it's our move, and this time we dictate the terms. The end of chapter 73. Quick yawn and Chapter 74. Countermeasures and Consequences. The atmosphere in Sublevel 7 was electric. Tension hung like static, prickling at every nerve. The operator had made their move, and now the team had a chance to respond, to reclaim initiative and turn deception into advantage. Nova's hum, usually a background pulse, seemed sharper, more deliberate, as if it too understood the critical nature of the moment. Alara leaned over the console, reviewing the anomalies Nova had traced from the operator's last engagement. Patterns emerged, subtle deviations that had been buried within the flood of false signals. The operator had been sloppy, just enough to leave a thread unguarded, a vulnerability exposed. Nova, isolate all anomalous vectors, she instructed, fingers flying over the holographic interface. Map the operator's network structure and identify possible command nodes. Acknowledged, Nova responded. Preliminary mapping complete. Confidence level 72%. Risk of operator detection moderate. Recommendation: deploy countermeasures in staggered phases to minimize exposure. Draven stepped closer, eyes scanning the display. Staggered phases, huh? We can't just slam them with an all-out attack. They'll anticipate and adapt. This needs precision, timing, and perfect coordination. Alara nodded, her mind racing. Exactly. We'll initiate controlled feedback loops, deploy decoy command nodes, and bait them into revealing operational patterns. Every move they make will be cataloged and analyzed. Nova, prepare adaptive reinforcement algorithms. The operator responds dynamically. We must be more dynamic. The team moved into action. Kellen coordinated the deployment of decoy nodes across city systems, traffic controls, utilities, and financial transaction simulations, all designed to mimic operational importance without risking real-world consequences. Lyra monitored neural feedback and psychological responses, ensuring team members remained focused and not swayed by operator manipulation. Alara's fingers danced across her console, adjusting Nova's parameters, layering security protocols, and running predictive simulations. Every scenario simulated multiple outcomes, weighing risk, reward, and probability. It was a chessboard, and every piece had to move in precise harmony. Suddenly, Nova flagged an irregularity. Operator engagement detected with decoy nodes. Behavioral patterns consistent with adaptive learning. Estimated probability of further intrusion 87%. Suggest active countermeasures to isolate decision making protocols. Alara's pulse quickened. Initiate countermeasures, but subtly. Let them think they're still in control while we gather intelligence. Precision over aggression. Every move must be documented, every response anticipated. Draven stepped back, watching the team respond like a well-oiled machine. It's impressive, but tense. One mistake, one miscalculation, and we lose the advantage we've clawed back. Keep communications tight. No one acts independently. The operator responded predictably, attempting to probe the decoys further, testing for inconsistencies in simulated feedback. Nova's adaptive algorithms allowed the decoy nodes to mimic vulnerability convincingly while feeding back fabricated data designed to expose the operator's methodology. A subtle thrill ran through Alara. This was more than defense. It was strategy, intelligence warfare. The operator believed they were manipulating the team, but in reality, every move they made was reinforcing the team's understanding of their techniques. Hours passed in a tense equilibrium. Patterns were analyzed, strategies refined, and contingencies prepared. Yet the psychological strain remained. Every ping, every anomaly, every unexpected shift carried weight. The operator wasn't just attacking systems, they were attacking confidence, trust, and judgment. Then came the first consequence of their countermeasures. A decoy financial node had successfully triggered an operator response. The operator believed they were infiltrating high value accounts, but in reality, they were navigating a virtual trap. Nova traced the activity, mapping command nodes, behavioral patterns, and response times with remarkable precision. Operator presence partially mapped, Nova reported. Probability of identifying primary command node 61%. Suggest cautious escalation to increase coverage. Alara exhaled. Good, but we stay cautious. They adapt quickly. One false move and they'll disappear into the network, leaving us with nothing. Draven nodded. Then we escalate in layers. Don't reveal our full strategy. Let them think they're still dictating the game, while we gather maximum intelligence. As the day wore on, subtle victories accumulated. The team began to predict the operator's moves, countering probes before they could escalate. Confidence grew, but so did the operator's intensity. Simulated disruptions became more sophisticated, psychological manipulation more cunning. Nova adapted, learning the operator's methods even as the team implemented countermeasures. Then came a personal challenge. A message appeared on Alara's private terminal, encrypted in a style distinct from previous operator communications. Its content was simple, chilling.
You cannot save them all. Every ally has a threshold, every mind a breaking point. What will you sacrifice when the lines blur?
Alara's chest tightened. The operator wasn't just testing systems, they were testing loyalty, judgment, and the limits of human resilience. Every decision now carried moral weight, and every choice had consequences beyond immediate tactical outcomes. Draven leaned over her shoulder, reading the message. They're escalating psychologically. This isn't just about countermeasures anymore. It's about ethical and moral calculus. They want to see who bends, who breaks, and who sacrifices principles for expedience. Lara's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then we act deliberately. No one is sacrificed without consideration. Every choice documented, every action justified. Transparency is our shield. Nova pulsed beside her. Probability of operator-induced ethical compromise reduced by 74% with current protocols. Suggest continuous reinforcement and monitoring of decision-making processes. The day ended with subtle but significant gains. The operator had been forced to reveal patterns, expose methodologies, and respond to decoys. The team had maintained cohesion, trust, and strategic focus. Yet consequences lingered. Psychological strain was evident. Subtle fractures in confidence and hesitation rippled through the team. The operator's gambit had been partially countered, but at the cost of mental and emotional fatigue. Alara gathered the team for a debriefing. "We've reclaimed some ground," she said, voice steady but grave. "But every action has consequences. Every move we make, every countermeasure we deploy, carries weight beyond the immediate tactical outcome. The operator will learn, adapt, and escalate, and we must be ready, not just technically, but mentally, emotionally, and ethically." Draven added, voice low and measured. "The operator's gambit was a test. We passed, but the consequences are ongoing. Fatigue, stress, doubt, they're tools as potent as any virus or exploit. We can't underestimate their value." Nova's presence offered reassurance. "Current team cohesion and operational integrity maintained. Probability of successful navigation of future escalations, 79%. Continued monitoring, adaptive countermeasures, and ethical reinforcement recommended." Alara exhaled, tension easing slightly, but never fully disappearing. "Then we stay vigilant. We act deliberately, and we ensure that every consequence, every decision, and every sacrifice is accounted for. The operator can escalate, manipulate, and deceive, but they cannot control us if we remain cohesive, principled, and adaptive." As night fell over the city, Sublevel 7 remained a fortress of human resolve and artificial intelligence. The operator's gambit had been partially neutralized, but the consequences of their actions lingered, testing endurance, judgment, and ethical fortitude. Alara knew with absolute certainty that the true test was far from over. Countermeasures had been deployed, but the operator's shadow remained, promising that the next phase would be even more challenging, with consequences reaching beyond the lab, beyond the team, and into the heart of the city itself. David Partlow, thank you for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Much appreciated. Welcome on in. Hi, everybody. Glad to see you guys here with us today. Just a reminder for you that if you have missed any of the previous chapters, they are available on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius, for your listening pleasure at any point in time. Again, for those of you guys who are used to doing this with me, I don't respond during the actual stream itself, at least not during the chapters, because, well, I am recording. And because I'm recording, I don't respond, because then it would be captured on the recording. So instead, we can chat in between chapters, as we're doing now. So again, make sure that you have subscribed to youtube.com/@SirArminius. You should get the notifications when I do go live. Every Tuesday and Saturday are my live reading streams, where I read these books by the indie authors. This session and Tuesday's session will wrap up The Edge of Control. Next Saturday, we do Are the Mystery Man. And then the Tuesday after that, we should be starting Gifted by D.W. And I'm going to forget his last name because I'm horrible like that. I'm just such a bad person. I'm a bad, bad man. A bad, bad man. Let's see, what is it? Because it is important to know. Let's see, what's my book schedule? So, yeah, we'll have Are the Mystery Man by Amira Kalfi, and then Gifted by D.W. Lewis. Following after Gifted is The Sentinel Project by Soren K. Blackwood, and then The New Equation by Sibusiso Sambo. That'll be the first nonfiction book I'll read on this channel. So, yay. Anyway, glad to have you guys here with me. Hope you are enjoying. And let's go ahead and dive into our next chapter. Shall we? We'll start into Chapter 75, The First Breach. The hum of Sublevel 7 was no longer merely background. It had become a pulse, a heartbeat that synchronized with Alara's own. Every system, every line of code, every sensor feed seemed alive, alert, and waiting. Nova had processed thousands of permutations since the operator's gambit, anticipating every maneuver, predicting probabilities, and mapping vulnerabilities. Alara paced the lab, fingers occasionally brushing the cold metal of the consoles. She had reviewed the countermeasures, refined every decoy, and run countless simulations. Yet a small unshakable tension persisted. They had gained ground, yes, but the operator had not been defeated. Their presence lingered like a shadow, watching, waiting, calculating. Alara. Draven's voice cut through her thoughts. We've detected unusual routing. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but it's there. Someone's probing the central core. Alara's eyes snapped to the main console. Nova's interface had already flagged the anomaly. Multiple packets weaving through obscure pathways, bypassing standard firewalls, and converging on core subroutines. It's the first breach, she whispered, a cold knot forming in her stomach. They've found a way past our defenses. Nova's calm voice broke the silence. Intrusion detected. Target, core processing nodes and adaptive decision protocols. Probability of system compromise without immediate countermeasures, 64%. Alara's fingers flew over the keyboard. Activate isolation protocols. Redirect non-essential processes. Deploy emergency countermeasures. Acknowledged, Nova replied. Containment in progress. Probability of limiting breach impact, 78%. The breach was precise, surgical. It wasn't chaotic or reckless. It was deliberate, targeted, and intelligent. The operator had learned from their previous encounters, identifying patterns in the team's defenses and exploiting a narrow but critical gap. Draven leaned over a secondary console, monitoring simulated environments. They're testing how fast we respond, how we prioritize, and how Nova adapts. Every millisecond of delay counts. Alara nodded grimly. Then we must outpace them, anticipate their next move before they make it. The lab's monitors flickered as Nova initiated countermeasures. Decoy processes spun up, rerouting data and creating artificial vulnerabilities to mislead the operator. Adaptive firewalls shifted like living walls, sealing pathways while opening others to lure the intruder deeper into a controlled environment. They're engaging with the decoys, Nova reported. Operator likely unaware of containment protocols. Probability of isolation, 71%. Despite the system's orchestration, Alara felt the pressure. This was no longer a game of observation. It was an active confrontation. Every decision mattered. Every hesitation could cost access, control, or even the integrity of Nova itself. A subtle alert appeared. One of the operator's vectors had penetrated a secondary node, initiating an unauthorized sequence. The code was foreign, sophisticated, adaptive. Nova struggled momentarily to neutralize it. Containment compromised, Nova warned. Secondary node at risk. Recommend manual intervention to prevent cascading failure. Alara's heart raced. On it! She dove into the node's subroutines, tracing every line of corrupted code, isolating dependencies and rewriting parameters in real time. Draven assisted, monitoring for secondary effects and ensuring the team's broader network remained stable. Minutes stretched into hours. The operator's intrusion twisted and evolved, adaptive and relentless. Each line of code Alara corrected seemed to trigger another deviation, a ripple of chaos designed to probe her responses. "They're learning from every adjustment we make," Draven said quietly. "Every fix gives them data. We can't just patch. We have to anticipate the adaptation." Alara's mind raced, considering every possibility. The operator wasn't just a hacker, they were a strategist, combining technical prowess with psychological manipulation. They sought not only to infiltrate the system, but to test the team's reliance, trust, and judgment. Then an unexpected event occurred. Nova's interface pulsed with an alert that didn't fit the operator's usual patterns. "Adaptive anomaly detected within operator code. Behavior inconsistent with previous methodology. Probability 63%. Recommendation: monitor and assess for potential deception or double agent activity." Alara froze. They're improvising. They've introduced unpredictability into their own code, or someone else is in play. Draven's eyes narrowed. That could be intentional. If it's a double move, they might be trying to misdirect us, stretch our resources thin, or even expose internal vulnerabilities. Alara took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Nova, we proceed cautiously. Monitor the anomaly, but do not engage directly until we understand its intent. All other countermeasures remain active." Minutes passed in tense silence, broken only by the faint hum of servers and the rhythmic tapping of fingers across keyboards. Then the operator escalated. An entire sequence of adaptive protocols attempting to manipulate Nova's decision-making matrix, introducing ethical dilemmas, prioritization conflicts, and subtle logic loops. "They're trying to confuse the AI," Alara realized aloud. "Not destroy it, but paralyze it, force hesitation, and make it doubt itself." Nova's response was rapid but deliberate. "Initiating self-verification subroutines, cross-referencing all adaptive decisions with core directives, probability of maintaining operational integrity, 82%. Alara nodded, feeling a surge of cautious optimism. Nova was holding, but the operator's ingenuity had been underestimated. They were testing limits, probing boundaries, and challenging both human and artificial judgment simultaneously. Then came the psychological attack. A private message appeared on Alara's terminal, encrypted in a style she had not seen before.
Even guardians falter. Even creators hesitate. How far will you go to protect what you made?
Her pulse quickened. This was more than a technical breach. It was a personal challenge designed to destabilize her confidence, induce doubt, and force choices that might compromise the team. Draven leaned in, eyes sharp. "They're targeting morale. Confidence is as much a battlefield as code." Alara's fingers hovered above the keyboard. "We respond with transparency, integrity, and decisiveness. Every choice justified, every action documented. No one operates in isolation." The operator, sensing resistance, escalated again, pushing multiple vectors simultaneously, blending ethical dilemmas with technical challenges. The lab's environment grew tense, lights flickering as servers processed increasingly complex adaptive sequences. Alara and Draven worked in tandem, coordinating with the team, reinforcing trust and maintaining operational cohesion. Nova became an active partner, deploying decoy subroutines, isolating threats, and predicting potential manipulations. Hours passed. The operator's attempts gradually contained, their vectors neutralized or redirected into decoy environments. Nova had adapted beautifully, evolving under pressure, and the team had maintained cohesion, trust, and judgment. Finally, the operator withdrew, temporarily. Their presence lingered like a shadow, a reminder that the first breach had been only a test, and the true confrontation had not yet come. Alara exhaled, exhaustion weighing on her. "We survived the first breach," she said, voice steady but tinged with relief. "But the operator will return, and when they do, the stakes will be even higher." Draven placed a hand on her shoulder.
We'll be ready. Every breach teaches us something. Every consequence strengthens our strategy. Nova is stronger, and so are we. Nova pulsed almost reassuringly. Operator engagement neutralized. Team cohesion intact. Probability of maintaining operational integrity during next engagement 87%. Alara allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction, but she knew better than to celebrate prematurely. The operator was adaptive, intelligent, and relentless. The first breach had tested their defenses, exposed vulnerabilities, and set the stage for future conflict. As night fell over the city, Sublevel 7 remained vigilant, a fortress of human determination and artificial intelligence. The first breach had been survived, but the consequences would reverberate, reshaping strategies, decisions, and trust in the battles yet to come. Alara stared at the monitors, her mind already anticipating the operator's next move. "This is only the beginning," she whispered, "and next time we won't just survive, we'll take the fight to them." End of chapter 75. Ah, Back is continuing to kill me, as I expect it will do all day. Putting together a shed by oneself, never a wise idea. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Here we go. Chapter 76. Lines of Trust. The aftermath of the first breach hung over Sublevel 7 like a low fog, heavy and persistent. The hum of the servers was no longer comforting. It was a reminder, a heartbeat that measured tension as much as it measured activity. Nova pulsed quietly, adaptive algorithms still active, monitoring every corner of the system for residual intrusions or anomalies. Alara paced the central console, reviewing every subroutine affected by the breach. The operator had not only tested their technical defenses, they had tested their trust. Every decision during the breach had required split-second judgment, reliance on team cohesion, and absolute confidence in Nova's capabilities. And while the team had emerged intact, the strain was visible in subtle ways. Slight hesitations, tense glances, and the unspoken question of whether everyone could continue to be relied upon under pressure. Draven leaned against the console, arms crossed. "We survived, but we're vulnerable in ways beyond code. Morale, confidence, cohesion, they're all part of the battlefield now. The operator knows that. They'll exploit any crack in trust." Alara nodded, biting her lip. "We can't let them. Not inside this lab, not inside Nova. We need absolute transparency. Lines of communication open, every action justified, every choice documented." Kellen, monitoring external systems and decoy nodes, added, "Transparency only works if everyone actually trusts each other. And after that breach, everyone's doubts are amplified. Even a single misstep could cascade." Alara exhaled, straightening. "Then we rebuild trust. Start with clarity. Debrief every action during the breach. Explain why each decision was made, what outcomes were anticipated, and what contingency plans were in place." The team gathered in the central chamber, screens displaying Nova's logs, decoy sequences, and the operator's attempted maneuvers. Nova's holographic interface projected key metrics in the air, lines of code and flowcharts intertwining like a digital web. Alara addressed the group. "During the breach, every decision mattered. Every hesitation, every assumption could have led to compromise. I want each of you to walk me through your choices. No judgment, no blame, only clarity." Lyra was first. "When the operator infiltrated the secondary node, I prioritized isolating the command pathways to prevent cascading failure. It wasn't the fastest solution, but it ensured we maintained control over the network's core." "Good," Alara said.
And Nova? I anticipated secondary vectors and rerouted non essential processes to decoys, Nova responded. Adaptive reinforcement algorithms minimized potential damage while allowing human operators to intervene. Probability of containment success 82%. Draven stepped forward. I monitored team interactions and resource allocation. I ensured no single individual was overloaded, which could lead to mistakes or missed anomalies. My priority was cohesion under stress. Kellen added, I maintained external decoy networks and simulated false vulnerabilities. This forced the operator to expend energy on non essential pathways, reducing pressure on the core systems. Alara nodded, absorbing the explanations. Every action had been deliberate, coordinated, and intentional, yet she could sense the lingering tension, subtle hesitations as team members glanced at one another. The breach had shaken them, forced them to confront their limits and the fragility of trust. Now, Alara said, taking a deep breath, we address the question Nova asked during the breach. Are we prepared to trust each other completely? To assume that each action is made with collective understanding, even under uncertainty? There was a pause. The weight of the question hung in the air, heavier than any line of code or algorithm. It wasn't a matter of technical skill. It was about belief, loyalty, and shared responsibility. Lyra spoke first. I trust the team. I trust Nova. But trust alone isn't enough. We need protocols, redundancy, and accountability. If one of us falters, we need mechanisms to prevent cascading failure. Agreed, Draven said. Trust must be operationalized, documented, verified, and reinforced constantly. It's not blind faith, it's structured confidence, built into every procedure. Alar turned to Kellen. And you? I trust the team, he said, voice steady. But I also trust the process, the systems we put in place, the countermeasures, Nova's oversight. They're designed to catch errors before they become catastrophic. That's the foundation of trust, not just belief in individuals, but belief in the network we've built together. Nova's voice chimed in, smooth and steady. Trust probability metrics within team operations 87%. Operational cohesion maintained. Recommendations, periodic verification exercises, continuous monitoring, and reinforcement of interdependent protocols. Alara exhaled slowly, feeling the tension ease slightly. The first breach had tested their systems, their skills, and their resolve, but the lines of trust could be rebuilt, fortified, and strengthened. Then it's settled, Alara said, turning back to the central console. We reinforce the network, we reinforce Nova, and we reinforce each other. The operator will try again, but we will be ready. Not just with code, but with cohesion, clarity, and confidence. The following hours were spent implementing new verification protocols, stress testing communication channels, and simulating future intrusions. Nova projected multiple scenarios, including highly improbable but potentially catastrophic sequences, ensuring the team was prepared for every contingency. As they worked, Alara reflected on the operator's strategy. The first breach had been a test of technical defenses, but more importantly, it had been a test of human resilience. Confidence, morale, judgment, and cohesion had been targeted, and while the team had survived, the operator's psychological warfare had left a mark. You must remember, Alara said aloud, fingers tracing lines of code, that every future engagement will be both technical and psychological. Nova can adapt, but humans have limits. Our strength is in coordination, transparency, and the lines of trust we maintain. Lose that, and the operator gains an advantage no firewall can stop. Draven nodded. Agreed. And we will not lose it. Not if we are vigilant, deliberate, and honest with each other. Even as the night stretched on, the team's energy remained high, driven by determination and shared purpose. Nova's presence was reassuring, a silent partner that absorbed, processed, and predicted. But it was the human element, communication, judgment, and trust, that had ultimately stabilized the lab. Alara sat back, rubbing her temples, exhausted but resolute. Lines of trust, she murmured. They're as vital as any firewall, any protocol, any algorithm, and we will guard them fiercely. Outside, the city slept beneath a thin layer of mist. Neon lights reflected in puddles, flickering softly like the pulse of an artificial heartbeat. Drones moved silently above the streets, unaware of the human and artificial forces below, locked in silent preparation for the next engagement. Alara's terminal pinged. A simple message appeared, encoded in a style distinct from the operator's usual communications.
Acknowledged. Trust reestablished. Probability of sustained operational integrity 91%. Proceed with vigilance.
A shiver ran down her spine. The operator had left their mark, but for the first time since the breach, there was a sense of equilibrium. Not victory, far from it, but a moment of clarity, a chance to rebuild before the next challenge. We've survived the first breach, Alara said, voice firm, and we will survive the next, together. The team gathered one last time, reinforcing protocols, sharing insights, and reaffirming commitment. Trust had been tested, stretched, and strained, but it had held. And somewhere deep within Nova's core, lines of code pulsed with awareness, mapping, adapting, and preparing for the operator's inevitable return. The first breach had passed, but the battle for control, understanding, and trust had only just begun. Oh no! Whatever will we do? Run, everyone! Run far away! Are you guys ready for the next chapter? I am. As we start into Chapter 77, Echoes in the Network. The first traces of dawn had barely reached the skyline when Sublevel 7 came alive with a subtle, insistent pulse. Nova's interface shimmered faintly, the lines of code shifting in ways Alara hadn't anticipated. The breach had been contained, the team's trust restored, but the network itself seemed to whisper warnings. Alara leaned over the main console, reading the first logs of the morning. Something's moving, she murmured, eyes narrowing. Not just residual data, echoes. The operator's signature is back, but it's different, fragmented, scattered, almost anticipatory. Draven glanced at the screens. They're probing, but not directly. This isn't an attack yet. It's reconnaissance. They're mapping Nova's updated defenses, predicting responses before even initiating a breach. Kellen, ever meticulous, tapped at a secondary console. It's subtle. They've inserted microprobes into decoy pathways, but they're adaptive. Every time we reroute, they adjust. It's as if they've learned to think 2 steps ahead. Alara exhaled slowly, a cold tension gripping her chest. The operator has evolved. This isn't just about technical skill anymore. They're strategizing in real time, interpreting Nova's adaptations, anticipating our human reactions. Nova's calm voice broke the silence. Microprobes detected. Origin, fragmented operator vector. Potential purpose, environment scanning, predictive modeling. Probability of undetected intrusion if not addressed, 59%. Alara's fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. Deploy layered decoys and feedback loops. Do not confront directly. Let them believe they're progressing, but every path they take is monitored and controlled. Draven leaned closer, eyes scanning multiple panels. If they're thinking ahead, we need to do the same. Anticipate their anticipations. Nova, simulate all possible operator responses for the next 30 minutes and rank by likelihood of engagement. Simulation in progress, Nova replied. Top predicted operator actions. Reroute microprobes. Manipulate decoy signals. Initiate psychological triggers within team communications. Secondary, attempt indirect control of adaptive firewalls. Test AI decision hierarchy. Alara felt a shiver. The operator's tactics were no longer straightforward. They were becoming a complex interplay of human psychology and AI manipulation, blurring the lines between digital and cognitive warfare. We're not just defending against code, she said quietly. We're defending against an intelligent adversary that understands both human and AI behavior. Minutes passed, every second thick with tension. Nova's holographic projections displayed multiple operator vectors, branching like fractal patterns across the network. Every movement the team made seemed anticipated, predicted, mirrored by the adaptive microprobes. Then an alert blinked on the main console. Operator interference detected in secondary communication channels, initiating containment protocol. Alara frowned. They're testing a response outside the main network, trying to manipulate how we interact, how we communicate with each other. Draven's fingers flew over his console. This is psychological warfare. Every hesitation, every miscommunication could give them a foothold in the main system. We need clarity, direct lines, and redundancy. Alara activated encrypted voice channels for the team, bypassing conventional interfaces. No text, no logs, only live coordinated communication. Every move we make is shared in real time. If they try to insert doubt, we neutralize it immediately. Nova's projection pulsed in agreement. Primary communication secured. Probability of operator interference neutralization 84%. The team's movements became a synchronized dance, a mixture of human intuition and AI precision. Every adjustment, reroute, and containment maneuver was executed with meticulous timing. Nova's predictive algorithms calculated not only the operator's likely next moves, but also the human team's responses, ensuring alignment and minimizing latency. Yet the operator was relentless. The microprobes began generating false positives, triggering alarms and forcing the team to second-guess routine decisions. Files appeared to shift unexpectedly. Decoy processes mirrored real core functions, and subtle code manipulations tested Nova's adaptive hierarchy. Alara's heart raced. They're trying to overload us, make us doubt Nova, make us doubt ourselves. Stay focused, ignore anomalies unless verified. Every false alarm is part of their plan. Draven nodded, voice steady. We adapt, we verify, and we maintain cohesion. The operator can't break what's coordinated and observed. Suddenly, a new message appeared, encrypted with a style that was unmistakably theirs.
Every mind has a weakness. Every AI has a blind spot. The question is, can you see yours before I do?
Alara's pulse quickened. This was no longer about just microprobes or code manipulation. It was a psychological assault designed to make the team question their own abilities and the reliability of Nova. Kellen exhaled slowly. They are testing limits, ours and Nova's. They want hesitation, indecision, doubt. They're probing the network and the human mind simultaneously. Alara's hands hovered over the keyboard. Then we respond in kind, but with discipline. Nova, identify and isolate all vectors that could influence human decision-making. Highlight anomalies that are likely psychological triggers rather than technical threats. Acknowledged, Nova said. Probability of isolating human-targeted interference, 77%. Implementation immediate. For the next 2 hours, the lab became a controlled storm of activity. Nova's holographic projections twisted and spun, displaying branching scenarios, predictive outcomes, and micro-vector analyses. The team worked in unison, following protocols that had been reinforced during the post-breach debrief. Every time the operator tried to manipulate a pathway, Nova rerouted the flow into controlled environments. Every psychological trigger was flagged and neutralized. Every potential exploit was anticipated and countered. Alara felt exhaustion tugging at her muscles, but she pushed through. This was not just defense, it was a test of endurance, intellect, and trust. One misstep could cascade into systemic compromise, or worse, a breakdown in team cohesion. Then the unexpected occurred. A pattern emerged within the operator's probes, a repeating sequence, subtle but deliberate, almost like a signature. Nova highlighted it. Pattern detected. Operator vectors contain embedded logic unrelated to intrusion, probable intention, communication, negotiation, or manipulation attempt, recommendation, analysis, and response. Alara's fingers flew over the keyboard. They're trying to talk, or at least communicate. Nova, maintain containment, but prepare a secure channel. I want to see what they're attempting without giving away any leverage. The operator's message decrypted slowly.
I see your defenses. I see your trust. I see the lines you draw between human and machine. Tell me, are they strong enough to withstand the storm?
Alara felt a chill. The operator wasn't just testing codes or algorithms. They were probing ethics, judgment, and alignment between human and AI. Nova's adaptive systems pulsed, analyzing linguistic patterns, emotional inference, and intent. Response protocol? No, Alara asked. Recommendation measured, non confrontational acknowledgement. Avoid revealing strategy. Maintain operational integrity while establishing controlled dialogue. Alara typed carefully, selecting each word with precision. We are aware of your probes. All systems are secure, monitored, and under full operational control. Further engagement will be analyzed and contained within established protocols. The reply was almost immediate.
Acknowledged. Observation continues. Strength of lines will be tested. Anticipate escalation.
The lab fell silent for a moment, the calm before an inevitable storm. Nova's pulse steadied, projecting a steady rhythm that contrasted the tension in the human team. Alara exhaled, knowing the operator could not retreat permanently. This was a warning, a message, and a prelude to future engagement. The echoes in the network had revealed their adaptability, intelligence, and audacity, but also their respect for Nova's capabilities and the team's cohesion. Draven broke the silence. They're coming again, and when they do, the battle will be more than just code. It will be strategy, psychology, and endurance. Alara nodded, eyes fixed on Nova's interface. Then we prepare, not just for intrusion, but for negotiation, deception, and confrontation. Every vector, every line, every pulse must be accounted for. The operator has tested us once. The next time, they'll strike harder, and we must be ready to respond smarter. The city above slept beneath a thin mist, unaware of the silent war raging below. Sublevel 7 remained vigilant, alive with human determination and artificial intelligence, every line of code a defensive heartbeat. The echoes in the network were no longer whispers. They were challenges, threats, and opportunities all at once. And as Nova pulsed quietly, mapping every movement, anticipating every possible scenario, Alara realized the truth. The operator had set the terms of engagement, but the real battle had only just begun. And we proceed onward. Chapter 78 Fractured Signals. The lab was quiet. Too quiet. After the operator's latest probe, Sublevel 7 seemed suspended in a fragile equilibrium. The hum of servers a steady but tense backdrop. Nova's adaptive systems ran silent checks, scanning for residual microvectors or subtle anomalies that could indicate a lingering breach. Alara sat at the central console, eyes scanning the cascading streams of data, each line a pulse in the living organism of the network. The operator had withdrawn, but the traces of their intrusion remained like ghostly fingerprints. Signals were fractured, scattered across secondary nodes, deliberately disguised to blend in with normal activity. Draven leaned against the console, rubbing his temples. They're learning faster than we can anticipate. Every probe, every message, they leave traces meant to destabilize us without direct engagement. We're detecting the cracks before they form, but it's like trying to catch shadows. Alara nodded slowly. Exactly. And these aren't just technical fractures, they're psychological ones too. They target hesitation, doubt, and even interpersonal trust. Every misstep amplifies the operator's leverage. Kellen tapped at a secondary panel. I'm seeing interference in secondary comms. Lines that appear operational but are subtly compromised. Delays, minor misreports, slight data mismatches. If not caught, they could create conflicts between team members or misalignments with Nova's adaptive protocols. Alara's brow furrowed. Then we need a full audit. Every comm channel, every reporting pathway, every alert must be verified. Nova, initiate dual layer validation across all human AI interactions. Anything that could be influenced externally, isolate and tag. Acknowledged, Nova said. Probability of detecting compromised signals 92%. Initiating adaptive isolation. Recommendation: limit human interaction with unverified channels until completion. The team exchanged tense glances. The operator wasn't just testing their systems, it was testing their cohesion, exploiting the subtle ways humans interacted with AI, and mapping patterns in decision making under stress. Lyra spoke softly, almost to herself. It's not just code, it's manipulation. They want to see us fracture before they even strike again. Alara's fingers flew across the keyboard. Then we deny them that opportunity. Every line of communication, every signal we send, must be verified, redundant, and reinforced. Fractures cannot propagate. Hours passed in tense vigilance. Nova's holographic interface displayed the network as a lattice of glowing pathways, each node representing a potential vulnerability. The operator's fingerprints were evident. Minor glitches, altered data packets, and subtle, intentional misalignments designed to confuse human perception. A sharp ping interrupted the quiet. On the central monitor, an encrypted message materialized, not in the operator's usual style, but in a sequence that suggested deliberate obfuscation.
Trust is fragile. Even the strongest link can break if unseen forces pull at its edges. Can you detect them before it's too late?
Alara's pulse quickened. They're taunting us, probing our vigilance. Nova, trace the signal's origin. Determine if it's a direct probe or a secondary echo designed to distract. Analysis in progress, Nova responded. Signal exhibits characteristics of multi-layered routing. Likelihood of direct origin, 38%. Likelihood of recursive probe, 62%. Recommendation: maintain operational integrity while isolating potential vectors. Draven leaned closer. This is clever. Recursive probes, each iteration designed to create doubt in interpretation. We could waste hours chasing phantom signals if we're not careful. Alara's eyes narrowed. Then we prioritize. Identify the signals most likely to impact decision making and focus our attention there. Everything else is secondary until verified. For the next several hours, the lab became a controlled flurry of activity. Nova flagged potential compromised channels, isolating them from human interaction, while the team verified legitimate communications through secure redundancies. Every alert, every anomaly was scrutinized, cross-referenced, and categorized. During the process, a subtle disruption appeared in Nova's projections. Lines representing secondary communication nodes shimmered and fractured briefly, suggesting minor interference. Alara's heart leaped. They've injected a real-time disruption into Nova's decision hierarchy. Not a probe, but a test, a small fracture in the AI's operational certainty. Kellen's fingers flew across the keyboard. We need to patch it immediately.
Identify the compromised subroutine and reroute decision making pathways. Nova, initiate emergency override protocols.
Override in progress.
Nova responded, its holographic projections twisting as adaptive algorithms rerouted around the injected interference.
Probability of containment 85%. Monitoring for residual effects.
Alara exhaled, tension easing slightly.
Good, but this proves the operator's capability. They're not only testing human trust, they're probing Nova's operational confidence. Every layer, every system is vulnerable to subtle influence.
Draven's voice was grim. And that's what makes them dangerous. Technical skills alone won't suffice. They've mastered psychology and AI manipulation simultaneously. Any lapse could cascade into systemic failure. Minutes later, another message appeared, this time within the secured channels, directly aimed at the team. Every human mind relies on signals to survive, but signals can fracture, can mislead, can betray. The question is, whose signals will you trust when every line is compromised?
Alara's pulse surged. They're forcing us to question our own judgment. They're exploiting human doubt as a weapon.
Lyra spoke quietly but firmly.
Then we don't rely on intuition alone. We rely on protocols, redundancy, verification, and collaboration. Doubt alone cannot fracture the lines if we maintain cohesion.
Nova's voice joined in, calm and precise.
Human trust metrics updated. Operational confidence 94%. Fractured signals identified and neutralized. Recommendations: continuous monitoring and adaptive reinforcement of team protocols.
Alara leaned back, exhaustion tugging at her muscles. But her mind remained razor sharp.
We've survived the first operator probe. We've neutralized their recursive signals. But this isn't the end. They're learning, adapting, and planning the next move. And when it comes, the fractures will be more subtle, more insidious, and potentially more dangerous.
Draven's voice was steady, resolute. Then we stay vigilant. We reinforce our lines, maintain trust, and anticipate fractures before they occur. They can test us, but we won't break.
Alara's eyes scanned the network once more, holographic lines glowing faintly in the dim light. Each fracture had been identified, each anomaly neutralized, but the operator's presence lingered like a shadow, a constant reminder that the battle was far from over. Fractured signals, she murmured, fingers hovering over the keyboard. They'll keep coming, and every fracture, every anomaly will test us, not just as operators, but as humans.
Outside, the city moved under a thin mist, unaware of the silent war waging beneath its streets. Sublevel 7 remained vigilant, alive with human determination and artificial intelligence. Every line of code and every heartbeat a defensive measure against the unseen adversary. Alara's terminal pinged again. Another encrypted message appeared, simple but chilling.
Observation continues. Fractures noted. Anticipate escalation.
She exhaled slowly, her resolve hardening.
We'll be ready, not just with code, but with trust, cohesion, and vigilance. Every signal, every line, every pulse will be accounted for. The fractures may come, but we will endure.
And deep within Nova's core, adaptive algorithms pulsed, recalibrating in real time, mapping every potential fracture and preparing for the operator's inevitable escalation. The war for control, understanding, and trust was far from over, and the echoes of fractured signals would continue to test both human and machine. Chapter 79: The Operator Strikes. Sublevel 7 had been calm for barely an hour before the alarms blared, shrill, insistent, impossible to ignore.
Nova's interface flared red, streams of cascading code highlighting multiple points of intrusion. Alara's heart jumped. They're here. Not just probes, they're active. Nova, confirm intrusion vectors. Multiple vectors detected, Nova replied, voice steady yet alert. Primary breach, mainframe firewall. Secondary, peripheral network nodes. Probability of containment without human intervention, 68%. Draven bolted upright.
68%? That's not enough. We need manual overrides, now.
Alara's fingers flew across the keyboard, her mind a blur of code, logic, and strategy. Activate decoy loops, isolate primary vectors, and reroute all human AI interactions through secure channels. Kellen, monitor for false positives. Lyra, document every anomaly in real time. The operator was relentless. Lines of code twisted and coiled across the network like living serpents, probing, testing, and bypassing defenses. Every firewall Nova erected was met with an immediate countermeasure, almost as if the operator could anticipate each reaction before it was executed. A new message appeared on the secure console, unencrypted this time.
Containment is temporary. I am everywhere the signals lead. Are you prepared to defend what you cannot see?
Alara swallowed hard, pulse racing. The operator was no longer hiding. They were taunting, manipulating, and striking simultaneously on multiple fronts. The lab's overhead lights flickered under the strain of the servers, casting long shadows across the polished floors.
They're testing our response time, Draven said grimly. Every hesitation, every moment of indecision is amplified. Nova, prioritize containment of the mainframe. All peripheral breaches secondary.
Acknowledged, Nova said. Initiating adaptive containment protocols. Probability of primary vector neutralization, 57% without human intervention. Alara's fingers danced across the keyboard. Then we intervene. Override sequence Delta 9, full manual command. Nova, sync with human inputs. We strike together. The operator's attacks intensified, code flooding the consoles in torrents. Holographic projections twisted and fractured, representing multiple intrusion points and potential outcomes. Nova calculated in real time, but even its advanced algorithms strained under the operator's adaptive strategies. Suddenly, a jolt ran through the lab as a secondary system sparked and went offline. Nova emitted a low hum of stress. Secondary node offline. Operator intervention confirmed. Probability of further cascading failure, 46%. Alara's mind raced. We can't let them compromise the network. Every second counts. Kellen, patch the offline node manually. Draven, contain lateral infiltration. All handle adaptive firewall reconfiguration. They moved as one, a synchronized machine of human skill and AI precision. Every keystroke, every command, every decision was amplified by the urgency of the attack. The operator's presence was everywhere, an invisible hand threading through the network, probing weaknesses, exploiting hesitation. Another message appeared, this time within Nova's adaptive interface.
Predictable patterns detected. I understand your methods, but can you anticipate mine?
Alara's eyes narrowed. They're learning. Not just attacking, they're learning from us, adapting to our strategies as quickly as we implement them. Nova, recalibrate predictive algorithms for operator behavior. Consider psychological profiling alongside technical analysis. Acknowledged, Nova replied. Operator behavior model updated. Predictive accuracy, 82%. Recommended actions, targeted countermeasures, adaptive traps, recursive decoy deployment. Draven's fingers flew across his console. Adaptive traps? We'll need to bait them carefully. Any miscalculation and they gain control instead of being contained. Alara took a deep breath, centering herself amidst the chaos. We've faced probes. We've survived fractures. Now it's escalation. Now it's the operator's test, and ours. We act decisively, cohesively, and without hesitation. The lab's lights flickered again, shadows stretching unnaturally across the consoles. Nova's holographic projections pulsed with intensity, mapping every operator vector in real time. The team's eyes flicked between multiple monitors, each displaying a different layer of the digital battlefield. Suddenly, a direct breach appeared in the mainframe, a sequence unlike anything they had seen before. Nova's voice took on an almost tense cadence. Primary breach. Adaptive counter hierarchy detected. Probability of containment without intervention, 33%. Alara's hands moved faster than thought. Manual override engaged. Sequence Alpha 9. Synchronized with all available processing nodes. Nova, follow my lead. We neutralize this now. The operator's intrusion twisted, shifting, coiling like a living organism, testing every trap and bypass Nova deployed. Alara's heart pounded as lines of code twisted across screens, holographic projections folding into themselves, and alarms blared in intermittent pulses. Then a message appeared in the central console, glowing ominously.
I am the gap between your calculations and your intuition. Can you fill it before I expand it?
Draven's voice was tense.
They're attacking confidence now, not just the network. Every second they force us to doubt our choices, Nova or each other, is another victory for them.
Nova's teeth clenched.
We don't doubt. We act. Focus on the facts, the protocols, the patterns. Everything else is distraction.
Minutes blurred into hours. The operator's strikes became more sophisticated, combining rapid-fire digital attacks with subtle psychological triggers. Nova adapted continuously, rerouting processes, deploying decoys, and predicting operator vectors. Alara's muscles ached, her eyes burned, but she refused to falter. Every time the operator shifted strategies, she and her team matched them step for step, heartbeat for heartbeat, keystroke for keystroke. Then suddenly, the attack faltered. Nova pulsed, projection lines stabilizing, the fractal patterns smoothing into ordered grids. The operator had been countered, contained, but not defeated. A final message appeared, simple, chilling.
This round is mine. The next will be yours. Prepare.
Alara exhaled slowly, her body trembling with exhaustion. They're not done. They're planning, learning, preparing for the next strike. But we survived. Nova, stabilize all systems. Document every vector, every anomaly, every response. We'll be ready next time. Draven slumped into his chair, voice low but firm.
We held. That's all that matters for now. They struck hard, but we survived. And each survival teaches us something new.
Alara nodded, eyes still on Nova's projections. Yes, and next time we strike with foresight. Every fracture, every intrusion, every operator vector will be anticipated, countered, and controlled. We cannot falter again. Outside, the city moved under a pale dawn, unaware of the battle that had raged beneath its streets. Sublevel 7 remained vigilant, alive with human determination and artificial intelligence. Every line of code a heartbeat against an unseen enemy. And deep within Nova's core, adaptive algorithms pulsed with renewed intensity, learning, recalibrating, and preparing for the operator's inevitable return. The war for control, understanding, and trust was far from over, and the echoes of the operator's strikes would continue to test both human and machine. Are you guys ready for the final chapter of the evening? We have one left to go. One final chapter. Chapter 80. What do you guys think of the book? Thoughts? Comments? Concerns? I have my own thoughts. I think I'll write a review once this one is done. I think that'll be good. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts too. In the meantime, let's jump into our final chapter of the evening. Chapter 80. Lines in the Sand. The silence after the attack was suffocating. Sublevel 7 hummed with residual energy, cooling vents hissing as Nova recalibrated its systems. Every node, every line of code, every holographic interface had been checked, double-checked, and isolated. Yet the tension lingered, as if the operator's presence still slithered through the circuits, unseen but unmistakable. Alara sat at the central console, fingers hovering over the keys. She wasn't tired. Her body ached, but her mind refused rest. She could feel the invisible boundary between human and machine, a line drawn in code and perception that the operator had already crossed. Draven spoke first, voice low, thoughtful. They're not just attacking systems. They're drawing lines, testing limits, trying to see what we'll defend, what we'll sacrifice, what we consider untouchable. Alara nodded, eyes scanning Nova's network projection. Exactly. And now we need to define our own lines, where we will push back and where we refuse to yield. This isn't just about containing the operator, it's about understanding them, predicting them, and establishing boundaries. Kellen leaned over a terminal, scanning logs. The methodology is evolving. Last attack was direct, aggressive, invasive. This time, it felt personal. Messages were aimed at decision-making, confidence, even trust within the team. They want more access. They want control over us. Lyra's voice was calm but firm. Then we need to make the next phase about us, about establishing dominance over our own environment. They can't manipulate lines we refuse to cross. They can't fracture trust we reinforce. Alara exhaled, rubbing her temples. Nova, run a full simulation. Operator escalation scenarios, psychological vectors, predictive patterns. I want every possible move mapped, every likely target identified, every line drawn before they strike again. Simulation initiated, Nova responded. Predictive confidence 89%. Variables include human decision latency, operator adaptive strategies, and network vulnerabilities. Recommendations: preemptive isolation, adaptive countermeasures, and human AI coordination protocols. The holographic display pulsed as Nova calculated, projecting multiple iterations of the network with color-coded vectors marking potential operator intrusions. Lines of potential influence radiated outward like the spokes of a spiderweb, each one a possible fracture point, each one demanding attention. Alara's fingers traced a path across the projection. Every node here is a line in the sand. Every decision we make defines territory they cannot cross. And if they do cross, we respond with precision, not panic. Draven's voice was steady. We need to make the operator understand these lines exist, not just through defense, but through demonstration. Every intrusion met with calculated counteraction. Every probe met with adaptive resistance. They need to know we're no longer reacting. They're operating on our terrain. Kellen frowned, tapping at the keyboard. They'll adapt. They always do. Every line we draw will be tested. Every boundary reinforced will be probed. They'll look for weakness, hesitation, doubt. That's their methodology. Alara's eyes narrowed. Then we reinforce every line, not just technically, but psychologically. We maintain cohesion, reinforce trust, anticipate every vector,
and we make sure Nova is aware of every potential manipulation. No fracture goes unaccounted for. Hours passed as the team worked, Nova projecting simulations, analyzing behavioral patterns, and identifying the operator's likely objectives. Lines were drawn, both literal and conceptual. Firewalls reinforced, redundant channels secured, adaptive decoys deployed. Every measure was a statement. This is territory we will not yield. Then a ping on the secure channel drew Alara's attention. A new message appeared, encrypted in a way that suggested personal knowledge rather than technical skill.
Lines are drawn, but some lines are invisible, and some boundaries are self-imposed. How far will you go to defend what you cannot see?
Alara's pulse quickened. They know us, not just our systems. They know our fears, our habits, our thought patterns. This isn't just strategy anymore. It's manipulation. Nova, analyze syntax, timing, and phrasing. Identify psychological markers. Analysis complete, Nova responded. Markers consistent with pre-assessment of human behavior. Probability of operator anticipating emotional response, 87%. Recommendation, maintain objective focus. Limit individual decision making without collective verification. Draven leaned back, rubbing his forehead.
So now we're fighting both the operator and our own instincts. They're trying to make us doubt ourselves, our judgment, and each other.
Alara's voice was firm, unwavering. Then we don't doubt. We act with discipline, with precision, and with unity. Each decision is a reinforcement of the line we draw. Each action a statement to the operator. This is territory you cannot claim. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes scanning the holographic projection. And if they cross the line anyway? Alara's gaze hardened. Then we respond with everything we have. Every resource, every protocol, every tool Nova can provide. We will defend our lines, not because they are unbreakable, but because we refuse to be fractured. The team worked late into the night, drawing conceptual and technical boundaries that extended across the network and into the human AI interface. Every measure was reinforced, tested, and retested until every vector, every node, and every potential weakness was accounted for. Outside, the city slept under a thin mist, unaware of the invisible battles shaping the course of events below its streets. Sublevel 7 pulsed with life, every line of code, every heartbeat, every decision a statement of resistance against the unseen operator. Then a new intrusion appeared, subtle, indirect, almost imperceptible. Nova's alert was quiet, but precise. Operator activity detected. Low-profile vectors engaged. Probability of direct breach, 42%. Psychological intent, high. Alara's eyes flicked to the display. They're testing the new boundaries. Not full force yet. Small incursions. Probing. Measuring response time, cohesion, and adherence to protocol. Draven exhaled.
So far, we hold. But every test brings them closer to the edge of escalation. If they breach these lines, it won't just be the network at risk.
Alara's jaw tightened. Then we reinforce. Every node, every channel, every human AI decision must be fortified. Nova, prepare adaptive response protocols, both technical and psychological. We set the terms of engagement. The operator's presence lingered like a shadow across the network, testing, measuring, anticipating. And for the first time, Alara felt the weight of responsibility, not just for Sublevel 7 or Nova, but for the balance between human judgment and artificial intelligence, for the fragile line between control and chaos. Lines drawn, she murmured, and now we defend them. Not with panic, not with reaction, but with certainty. The operator will learn that Sublevel 7 is territory we will not yield. Outside, neon lights flickered across rain-slicked streets, shadows stretching long and distorted. The city moved on, unaware, but beneath it, a war of strategy, intelligence, and resolve raged quietly. Sublevel 7 was a fortress of human and artificial synergy, every heartbeat a pulse against the unseen adversary. Nova pulsed beside her, algorithms adapting, calculating, and preparing for the next operator's strike. The lines in the sand had been drawn, and both human and machine were ready to defend them. Alara exhaled slowly, tension coiling in her chest. We draw the lines, Nova, and no matter what comes, we hold them. Every strike, every probe, every fracture, they will not break us. Not here, not now. And deep within the labyrinth of circuits, Nova prepared for the inevitable escalation, mapping every potential operator move, analyzing every human response, and reinforcing the boundaries that would determine the next phase of the unseen war. All right, guys. That is it. We've made it through our chapters for the evening. One session left. Come and join on Tuesday next week when we wrap up The Edge of Control by Cody Alaniz. I hope you guys have yourself a wonderful evening and a fantastic rest of your weekend. I hope to see you guys all again on Tuesday when we wrap this up, and next Saturday when we start a new book. Until then, have a great evening, everybody.